Hello, 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 everyone. Can you listen to me?
Yes, teacher, we can listen.
Yes. All right. Okay. So it's a pleasure again to listen to you and maybe to watch you, to look at you. So today we're going to continue, no? We're going to continue with this program. As you know, this is an English specialization program related to linguistics, no? Applied to English language teaching as a foreign language. No, this is the name of this program, this specialization program. So we were talking about the last session we had, no? Some aspects of linguistics. No, first we start talking about phonetics, then we pass to phonology, and finally we talked about a morphology, right? So, all right, all right. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. I think that's better. Yeah. Can you listen to me well? Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, as I told you before, we have here the next part of linguistics, no, that is related to syntax. As you can see here, you have a brief summary about what syntax is. For example, here says that syntax is the analysis of sentence structure. Remember, this is the general term of syntax. What syntax is, the analysis of sentence structure. So, yeah, I'm recording, yes. So, notice here, remember that this program, a specialization program, is related to linguistics applied to language teaching, right? So first we start talking about linguistics and the different levels or branches of linguistics, but we are going to talk about the most principal, no? Because we have a lot of branches of linguistics, no? But in this program, we are going to be focused on 4 of them: phonetics, phonology, morphology, and the last one, that is syntax. Then we have other 2 aspects or branches of linguistics. There are semantics and pragmatics. Notice here, when we talk about linguistics, we have different aspects of the language. No? Remember that linguistics is the study, no? The study of the language. We're going to analyze the language, all right? What are we going to analyze about the language? So we are going to analyze first sounds. We're going to talk about the sounds of the language. And when we analyze the sounds of a language, so we have here 2 aspects: phonetics and phonology. All right? When we talk about the sounds of a language, we talked about phonetics and phonology. Now, remember, phonetics is the study of the sounds, how we articulate the sounds, no, one by one. Phonology is the study of the sounds, but now as a system, as a group. And then we pass to another aspect of the language that is related to the grammar. When we talk about grammar, when we talk about grammar, we are going to focus on 2 aspects. Notice grammar is divided in 2: morphology and syntax. Notice morphology and syntax. Morphology, as we talked about the last session we had, morphology is the study of formation of words, how we make words. Then we talked about morphemes and many different kinds, no? So many kinds of morphemes, no? Free, bound, lexical, grammatical, derivational, inflectional, no? Can you remember about this topic, about morphemes? No, we talked about the different kinds, different types of morphemes, no? Free, bound, lexical, grammatical, inflectional, derivational. So we're going to use these morphemes to make up words, to create words, That's why morphology is the analysis of word formation. All right? Word formation. Now we pass to the next level. When we have words, with words, we make up sentences, right? First, we make phrases, no? With phrases, we join phrases or clauses, and we make sentences. That's why syntax is the study of the construction of sentences. And we call these two aspects of linguistics grammar. Grammar is morphology and syntax together, because in grammar, you analyze the words, the different kind of words, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and you analyze how to create these words. No? And in syntax, we are going to analyze how to create sentences. Remember, this is the general aspect of syntax. And then finally, you have the meaning. No, this is another aspect of the language, the meaning. All right. Oh, sorry. Here, the meaning. So notice meaning. So we have here semantics and pragmatics. We are not going to talk about these two branches of linguistics in this program. We are going to focus more on the four principles that are phonetics, phonology, morphology, and syntax. So, but remember, the other aspect of the language is the meaning, because with words and sentences, we create meanings, we create messages. Semantics is related to the meaning of these entities. Pragmatics is the use. When do we use these meanings? In which context are we going to use these utterances or chunks? No? For example, when we talk about semantics and pragmatics, we talked about the term chunks. Then when we talk about different skills, when we are going to talk about how to teach different skills, and there is a part when we are going to talk about how to teach vocabulary, we are going to talk about this term, chunks. Then we're going to focus more, expand more about this definition, all right? Chunks, because we're going to use some chunks in different contexts. Chunks, in a general term, is a group of words that we usually use together in different contexts, all right? So this is the pragmatics, don't forget. So we have here a general overview of what linguistics is, no? And the different branches that we have in linguistics. All right, so syntax, remember, syntax is here, is related to the grammar, the analysis of the grammar of the language, the analysis of how to make sentences. Let me clear my board. Yeah, so why do we use, or why do we need to study syntax? Syntax, as we have seen before, it's part of linguistics. No? It's a branch of linguistics, and it's obviously part of the grammar of every language. Remember, as we have seen before, grammar is composed by two, by morphology and syntax. So syntax is part of the grammar of every language, not just English, Japanese, Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Korean, any language around the world. So we have a grammar. It is also part of a native speaker's linguistic knowledge. No, this is part of our knowledge, a native speaker. So we, as native speakers, so we have this linguistic knowledge, the grammar knowledge, all right? Some reasons for studying syntax. When we study syntax, we are going to have infinity of expressions. There is an infinite number of possible utterances in every language. Remember, we can create A lot of possible utterances. So, teacher, what is the meaning of utterances? Can you tell me? What does it mean? What is that? Utterances. Do you have an idea? Possible. We have an infinite number of possible utterances in every language. What is that? What is the meaning of utterances? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? No, nobody? Marina?
No.
Okay, Marina. Your microphone, please. Marina, turn off your microphone. Okay, thank you. Yeah, anybody else? Anybody? Utterances. What is that? What is this? What is this? Utterances. No, nobody?
No.
Yeah, all right.
Like a sentences, teacher, or phrases?
Yes, Christian, very good, Christian in the chat, and Lucy and the speaker. Yes, utterances is similar to say sentences, but mostly oral, no written. All right, oral, what we express orally. These are called utterances. So remember when we talked about a phonology, no? Phonology, we saw that we have a set of phonemes, no? A set of phonemes, a set of sounds, a group of sounds. And with this reduced group of sounds, because we have just 42 sounds, no? With these 40 sounds, we can create an infinite number of possible utterances. So we have an infinity of expressions. Notice here, with a small group of sounds, 40 sounds, we can create millions of expressions, millions of utterances. All right? It is obvious that all of these utterances cannot be stored in our brains. No, it's impossible. No, when we speak something, or maybe when we write something, remember that utterances are more referred to oral language. We cannot store, we cannot maintain these utterances in our brains. It's impossible, right? So we are going to say, we are going to make it or made them, but we are not going to maintain them in our brains. It's impossible because we have a huge number of utterances. Also, it's important to know that our knowledge of a language consists of a finite number of words, the lexicon, the dictionary in your head, and rules, the grammar of the language. So notice, what we have in our head, remember, we have a finite number of words because we don't know all the words of the language. No? For example, talking about Spanish, do we know all the words of the language, of the Spanish language? Do you know all the words? Yes or no?
Not totally.
No, right? We don't know all the words of the Spanish language. So we have a finite number of words. How do we call this finite number of words? The lexicon. It's the group of words, no, set of words that you have in your head, and you use it to produce utterances. So that's why he says the dictionary in your head. And apart from these words, you have some rules. Notice, the knowledge of a language consists of words and rules, a finite number of words and rules, and the rules are called the grammar of the language. So how you're going to organize, no? How you're going to organize these words in a language. We have different structures, different patterns in a language. Spanish and English they have different grammatical structures. One simple example is the position of adjectives, right? The position of adjectives in English is before the noun. But in Spanish, we mostly put the adjectives after the noun. It's possible to write them before the noun, but mostly we write them after the noun. But in English, we have a different position. We have a different organization. We have a different rule. Notice, we have a different rule how to use this word in the English language. We have the same category. No, the category doesn't change. We have adjectives in Spanish. We have adjectives in English. So we share this categorization. And then we're going to talk about it. No, because languages share some grammatical structures, but not all. All right? If not, they will be the same language, right? But they are not the same language. They are different languages. So it means they have different rules. All right. So notice, how do we make the knowledge of a language? So we have a finite number of words that is called the lexicon, and the rules, grammar. Everyone who can speak knows how to use the rules. No, this is related to the language acquisition, how we acquire language. But nobody can really state exactly what the rules are. So when we speak, we use some rules, right? But sometimes, no, we cannot define exactly what the rules are because we're native. Notice, we're native speakers. Here we're going to analyze the rules because we are teachers, no? So for teachers, it's necessary to analyze the language, no? If you want to get more knowledge about the English language, you start analyzing the language. But when you speak, notice, when you speak, you use the language in a natural way. And sometimes you don't know why you use them, but you use them. All right. Understanding syntax and morphology. Remember that these two branches of linguistics are related. Yeah? Can help researchers to understand how young children learn their native language. No? So it's important to analyze, and you can increase the knowledge how young children learn their native language. There is another point related to grammar that is important to know, and I told you a few minutes ago. That is called the universal grammar. Have you heard before this term? Have you heard this term before? Universal grammar. No, nobody?
No.
Have you heard it before? No. All right, don't worry. Because here we're going to analyze this term that is related to syntax. Let me give you the example that I told you before. The position of the adjective in the English language is before nouns. In Spanish, is mostly after nouns, but we could use it also before nouns. But notice, this is the different rule, right? Different rule. But they share a rule that these languages, both languages, have adjectives. And you use adjectives to qualify nouns. In both languages, in Spanish and English, they use the adjectives in the same way. Yeah, notice here. So they share a rule in grammar, but there is another rule that they don't share. It's different. So when we talked about the universal grammar, remember that this was proposed by the famous linguist that is Chomsky, Noam Chomsky. Yeah, this is a theory known as Chomsky. So Chomsky says that universal grammar has principles, true of all languages. So the principles that languages share. They all share these principles. All languages have the same underlying structure. So all languages have subject, all languages have nouns, all languages have pronouns. Notice there are some aspects of grammar that all languages share. It's not different. So we call this the universal grammar. As I told you before, all languages have nouns, all languages have verbs. So all the languages share this characteristic of the language, grammar aspect of the language. So this is called universal grammar. And parameters whose setting varies from language to language. Maybe the position changes. For example, English and Chinese have this structure, subject, verb, object. But in Japanese, we have subject, object, verb. So they share the categorization. All of these three languages have subject, verb, and object. What is the difference? The position, the organization of these entities in grammar. In English and Chinese, we place first the subject. The same happens in Japanese. Subject is the first part of a sentence. No, affirmative sentence. No, we're talking about affirmative sentences. Then we have a change. In English and Chinese, we have the verb after the subject, but in Japanese, the verb is after the object. Notice there is a contrast, there is a difference between these languages, all right? They have the general principles are the same. The three languages have subject, verb, and object. But the internal structure, the internal organization is different. Well, English and Chinese have the same structure, but Japanese not. So notice here the term of universal grammar. Remember, universal grammar means that all languages have the same underlying structure. They share some characteristics, all of them. All right, this is the term universal grammar. Exactly, Christian. Yes, Christian is answering here in the chat. No? Christian says it's the kind of grammar that is embedded in everyone's mind. Yes, embedded. No, the term embedded is attached. No, in some simple words, attached. No, it's attached. It's internal in our mind, in our brains. That's it. Very good, Christian. That's it. Thanks for your answer. Now, don't forget that you can answer using your microphone or using the chat. No, you have some trouble with the microphone, or maybe there's some noise around you, around your house. So you can use the chat. Okay, teacher, and you start writing your answers. No, it's important that you try to participate. If you don't know, you're not sure, so tell me, teacher, I'm not sure, I don't know exactly, but I think, try to give your opinions, what you know, or what you have as a previous knowledge. This is the famous previous knowledge or background knowledge. All right, so don't forget about this, the universal grammar. Yeah? Another, for example, you have other differences between languages. So we have Spanish and Chinese are called pro-drop, and English is not pro-drop. Teacher, what is that? How is it eaten? Teacher, ¿qué es eso? Pro-drop, not pro-drop. Do you have any idea? What is that? Pro-drop, not pro-drop. Nobody? I'm going to give you an example. Now, I'm going to give you an example and you are going to realize What is the meaning of these expressions? Pro-drop and not pro-drop. Okay, Flor, don't worry, don't worry. Yeah, look at the example. I'm going to write an example below. Yeah? Oh, I'm going to do something better. I'm going to go back. Yeah. Oh, what's going on? My connection today is awful. Doesn't want me to go back. Yeah, okay, that's it. Yeah, I'm going to write here an example. In Spanish, notice I'm going to write a sentence in Spanish. Yo, sorry. Yeah, yo voy, no, yo voy al mercado todos los días. Miren, tengo esta oración en español, ¿no? En Spanish. Yo voy al mercado todos los días. This sentence, you can write it in another way. Voy al mercado todos los días. Sorry. Ahora sí. Yes. All right. Yeah, notice. What happened here? What is the difference between these two sentences? What did I do? ¿Qué he hecho? Yo voy al mercado todos los días. Voy al mercado todos los días. What did I do?
He omitted the pronoun.
Aha, yes. Now, in English.
Pronoun.
Aha,
Pronouns.
yes. Excellent. Aha. Ah, you got it. You got it. Yeah. Aha, exactly. I go to the market every day.
Every day.
Huh? Can I do this? Notice, I'm going to write a second sentence. Go to the market, every day. Is it possible to do that in English?
Go to.
Is it correct? I go to the market, sorry. Oh, I omitted the article. To the market, here, to the market. Oh, sorry. To the market, I go to the market every day. Then go to the market every day. Is it possible to do that? Aha, Flor says no. Anybody? Write it in the chat. Write it in the chat.
No.
No. Aha, Diana says
No.
it's incorrect. Yes, it's not possible. Notice, it's not possible to do this. It's not possible to omit the pronoun. But teacher, yes, there is one kind of sentence that you can omit pronouns in English. Can you tell me what it is? Can you tell me what it is? When you omit pronouns, is it possible to omit pronouns in English? Yes or no? Is it possible or is not possible to omit pronouns? Exactly, Diane. You can omit pronouns just in one case. When you write or when you speak imperative sentences, imperative commands, orders, you omit the pronouns. But in all the other cases, it's not possible to omit pronouns. In Spanish, we call this, ¿no?, el sujeto tácito, ¿no? En nuestro idioma le llamamos eso cuando omitimos el pronombre del sujeto, el sujeto tácito, o sea, ya está comprendido. En el inglés no puedo hacer eso. Por eso el término, miren, ahora vayamos al término, the term. So, Spanish and Chinese, pro-drop. Pro comes from the word pronoun. Drop is when you take out. You omit. Drop is similar to say omit. So Spanish and Chinese is possible, they are possible to omit pronouns, but English not. Commonly, mostly not. Just in imperative cases. But with the other cases, you cannot omit the pronouns. All right? So that's why here says, no, pro-drop. Remember, pro-drop is when you take out pronouns. You can omit pronouns. And not prodrop, it means that you cannot omit pronouns or subject before the verb. Just, there's an exception to this rule when we talked about imperative case, no? The imperative case, no? Oh, please open the door, no? You say, open the door, please. Oh, close the window, no? So you're giving a request or a command or an order, and you use the imperative form, all right? You use the imperative form. So don't forget about this term, pro-drop and not pro-drop, all right? Okay. Now we are going to start talking about some definitions of sentence. At the beginning of these slides, so you could see one definition. No? Syntax is the analysis of the sentence. So now here we're going to have more. Remember that this term syntax originates from the Greek language. Sing, meaning together, yeah? Sing, meaning together, and taxes, meaning sequence, order. Notice you are going to group the words together, but not as you want. You are going to give a sequence, an order to these words when you put them together. All right, so this is the meaning of syntax according to the language that was originated. No, that is from the Greek language. Sing, together, taxes, sequence, or order. Syntax, so, is the study of conjunctional relations which establish among elements that have the sentence of a language. So we are going to study the relations. Notice the relation among the elements that a sentence has. So this is the meaning of syntax. It means the syntactic rules that govern the words, the morphemes, the connectors, etc., to combine and form grammatical sentences correctly. Notice, correctly. So we're going to use these syntactic rules to combine and form grammatical sentences correctly. So what are we going to combine? We're going to combine morphemes, connectors. No, remember when we talk about morphology, we talked about the morphemes. No, morphemes. Remember, morphemes are the smallest meaningful unit of a language. All right. These are the morphemes. Don't forget it. Morphemes are the smallest meaningful units in a language. So when we combine these morphemes, we are going to make up sentences. But we are not going to use just the morphemes, no? We're going to use the connectors. That's why we talked about lexical morphemes and grammatical morphemes. No? So we're going to use both the lexical and grammatical. All right? So we're going to connect this lexical with grammatical connectors. No, we have here the prepositions, the articles, the determiners. Then we're going to analyze more about this topic. Okay? Syntax deals with the relation of words to each other as component parts of a sentence and with their proper arrangement to express clearly the intended meaning. This is another definition of syntax. Again, notice that we are emphasizing that we are analyzing the relation of words to each other, all right? To each other because they are part of a sentence. They are components, they are elements of a sentence. How they are going to interact together. And that's why we are going to analyze the proper arrangement, the position. No? Arrangement is how we are going to place these words into the sentence. A proper arrangement. The purpose? To express clearly the intended meaning. So this is the reason, no? How we are going to place these words together in a correct way to have a clear meaning. This is another definition of syntax. Another one. Syntax concerns how different words are categorized as noun, verbs, nouns, and others, and how are combined into sentence. Here you have another term. Categorization. So we are going to categorize words. Different categorization of words. Or different types of words. And how we are going to combine these words into sentences. So this is the meaning of syntax. Another one, syntax is the science of syntagmatic relations. It studies the relations of words have within a sentence and the function they have in their structure. You have another term here, syntagmatic relations. What is a syntagmatic relation? What is that? Syntagmatic relations. What is it? Notice here, yeah. What is a syntagmatic relation? The relation of words have within a sentence, how they are going to interact together, and the function, notice here, and the function they have in their structure. So this is the syntagmatic relation, the function that each word has in a sentence in order to make a sentence. So this is the syntagmatic relation. Exactly, Christian, very good. The relation between words to create sentences. This is the syntagmatic relation. Then we're going to talk about more about this topic. What happened here with my yeah. Syntax finds a method to analyze the sentences, describe a systematic order of their words, and show the rules that govern their combinations, ordering hierarchically. So notice here, analyze the sentences. How we are going to analyze the sentences? By describing the systematic order of their words. And that's why we're going to show the rules that govern these combinations. How we combine these words. We have a systematic order. And now, okay, teacher, I'm going to join this word, I'm going to place it here, here, here. No. We have, Ruth, your microphone, please. Okay, thank you. So, notice that we are going to analyze the rules that govern these combinations, all right? Now, when we talk about a language, we are going to have two axes, all right? Two axes of a language. What is that? What is that, teacher? Two axes of the language. Remember, the language is made up by signs. Languages are doubly articulated semiotic systems. When we talk about language, we have double articulation. What is this double articulation? Notice here, look at the diagram. The double articulation. So we have an articulation that is called the lower level, and then we have a higher level. That's why we have double articulation. What is the lower level of articulation? When we talked about the phonemes, we have the sounds. Remember, phonemes are the sounds. Phonemes combine into words according to phonological rules. Remember, we have some phonological rules. As we saw in the previous module, phonology, remember, this is in order to remind this aspect of the language. Yeah? Every language has a phonological system. It means that you cannot join the sounds as you want. There are some patterns, some structure in order to organize the sounds. No, remember that phonology is the study of the organization of sounds in a language. As I gave you as an example, no, the sound no, the sound velar sound, nasal velar sound, as in the word king, thing, lung, no, all of these three words finish in the sound but this sound, notice, this sound in English appears in the middle or at the end of a word, not at the beginning. So this sound has a function inside a system, the phonological system of a language. You cannot place it before or at the starting point of a word. No, there is no word in English which starts with the sound That's why here it says the phonemes combine into words according to phonological rules. Another phonological rule, for example, is that in English can start with 3 consonants together and can finish with 4 consonants together. Sounds, we're talking about sounds, all right? 3 consonants before, 4 consonants after the vowel. That is the nucleus of the syllable, no? Remember, phonology is the study of the system of sounds. That's why here it says, according to phonological rules. For example, here you have the word cats. So we have the sound ka, a, ta, s. And what is the other articulation? Double articulation, higher level. Words. Words combine into clauses according to syntactic rules. So we have these two. Okay? Notice here, we have these two. 2 articulation, double articulation. The low articulation, sounds. The high articulation, words. Sounds create words. Or morphemes, if we want to be more specific. Morphemes. And with morphemes, we create words. No? There are some words that are composed by 1 morpheme, but other words that are composed by 2 or 3 or 4 morphemes. No? It depends on the composition of words. These are related to morphology. And you create, notice, with sounds, you create words. With words, you create sentences. That's why we call the languages doubly articulated semiotic systems. With sounds we produce, when we put together the sounds, we produce meanings. That's why here it says semiotic, no? Meanings. Words, and you create sentences. All right? So this is called the double articulation. The lower level, remember, when we talk about the sounds, and the higher level when we talked about words. So this topic of today, syntax, and the other that we had before, morphology, are in the higher articulation. Let's analyze some relations that we have in a phonological aspect. Yeah? Phonological paradigmatic relations. What sounds out the total stream of possible sounds are meaningful, right? So we are going to join this stream. Remember, stream is a flow, it's like a flow, no? You are going to join the sounds in order to create meaningful units. And syntagmatic relations, how sounds are combined to create meanings. Let's see. For example, let's see some examples. We have these three sounds. Notice we have the sound B, the sound I, and the sound T. And we produce the word beat. So this is the syntagmatic relation. It's linear, horizontal. So 1 plus 1 plus 1. So you join one sound plus another sound plus another sound, and you have a word. You have a meaning, meaningful unit. 1 plus 1 plus 1. Notice, horizontal. All right, this is an horizontal relation. This is called syntagmatic relation. Now, what about the other? The other is the paradigmatic. Paradigmatic, possible combinations. Instead of B, you can replace the sound B with the sound S, and you have seat. Instead of S, you replace it with the sound M, and you have the word meat. Or you can use the sound N, and you have the word neat. So notice, this is a vertical relation. That's why here we have the two axes, no? The two axes of a language. So we have two relationships in a language. We have a syntagmatic relationship and a paradigmatic relationship. Syntagmatic, when you join, when you put together the sounds one by one, 1 plus 1 plus 1. But the other, no. The other is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Because you can replace them. All right? You can replace these sounds and you create more meaningful units. So notice, these are the phonological relationships. We have two, syntagmatic relationship and paradigmatic relationship. This is in a lower articulation. Remember that we talked about that the language is doubly articulated. So this is in a lower level. Then we are going to talk about it in a higher level when we have words. So languages are able to carry meaning because they are organized every level by two sets of rules, syntagmatic and paradigmatic. So we have these two rules, these two relationships in order to create words and in order to create sentences. In the previous slides, remember, this is in order to create words. We're creating words. We're going to combine sounds, notice, or phonemes. Remember that we are talking about phonemes. We are combining phonemes to create meaningful units or words. We have two, syntagmatic relation and paradigmatic relation. Now, let's pass to the higher level. The higher level words. We join words to create sentences, and we obviously have two relationships again. The syntagmatic structure, it means the way words combine to make a grammatically acceptable unit. And the paradigmatic structure, choosing from competing linguistic options available within a syntagmatic sequence. The syntagmatic, remember, is horizontal, the way words combine to make sentences, and the paradigmatic is to choose. We are going to choose some possible options, linguistic options available within a syntagmatic sequence. Notice here the examples. Let's see an example, all right? In order to get it clear, no? Because when we have just theory, maybe we couldn't understand. So it's very important to give examples. Similar to the previous one, no? In the phonological structure, no? In the phonological systems, we have one sound to another sound and another sound, and we create a meaningful unit. This is the syntagmatic. Paradigmatic, yeah, one sound or another sound or another sound. Notice here you have this possible options. Something similar happens when we create sentences. Mario goes to the park. They go, or the sandwich goes to the park. Notice this sentences, all right? Mario goes to the park. They go to the park. The sandwich goes to the park. Do you notice something strange here in these three sentences? All of them are correct. What do you think? The three sentences are correct?
No, the third sentence is not logic.
Aha, yes. It doesn't have sense, right? It's not logic. It's not logical. Aha. Yeah, all right. But according to the structure, is it correct? Okay, Diane, yes, the third sentence is not correct. As your partner says, it's not logical, no? It doesn't have sense, no? The sandwich goes to the park, no? Teacher, the sandwich is not a person. It's not a person, right? It's an object, something that you eat. The sandwich doesn't go to the park, right? But if we talked about the structure of the sentence, is it correct?
With the structure, it's correct because these sentences has a noun, a verb, and a complement.
Aha, yes. So notice here, you can notice here that two axes of the language, the two relationships, it's not just syntagmatically. For example, these sentences syntagmatically are correct. The structure. Oh yeah, we have a noun, subject, verb, complement. Correct. But the paradigmatic relationship is not correct. Because why? Why is not correct? Notice here. We have here some semantic fields. No? Mario and they refer to people. They are referring to people, right? You are talking about people, Mario, singular. They, plural. But the other option that you have here, no, that is the sandwich, no, the sandwich is not referring to people, right? It's referring to an object. So it's not possible. It's not possible to replace, notice, remember when we talk about paradigmatic, the possible options that we could use to replace some elements in a sentence. No, you can say Mario, Sheila, we, they, he, she, all of them are possible options, right? And the sentence are completely correct. But if you say the sandwich or the book, it's not possible because they are not or they don't belong to the same group. Remember, the options that you could have must have a connection to, must have a relationship to. I a teacher, I can replace, yeah, I can replace with everything. No, 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 no. It doesn't mean that because as you told me, it could have no sense. The third sentence have no sense. It's not logic because you're talking about an object. So notice that syntagmatic relation is correct. Oh, yeah, Christian. We talked about cartoons. Yeah, yes, but it's not the real life, right? This is something imaginary, no? Imaginary. Yes, it could be correct. No, it could be correct, but this is not real. No, this is not real. It's something abstract. No, but we follow some internal rules of grammar of the language, so we could analyze or we could see that this is not correct. No, this is not correct because it's not in the same field, no, in the same semantic field. This is the purpose. So this is why this the third sentence is not correct. All right. Okay. So notice here that we are talking about the syntagmatic relation and the paradigmatic relation. Syntagmatic, one and one and one. So you are summing up. But on the other, no, you have one or another possible options, no, that you could use to replace one of them. But these options, remember, these options must belong to the same category. All right, to the same category. You cannot replace one to another which is not in the same category. But as Christian said, if we talked about something unreal or imaginary, yeah, is it possible, right? Is it possible? Okay. So in films and cartoons, you can see that cars speak, talk. No? For example, this is Zootopia, no? Zootopia. So we have a complete city governed by animals. They talk, they govern, they do a lot of things. But this is something imaginary. You know? This is something imaginary. It's not the real life. No? Okay, so let's continue with the other aspect of syntax and the language. So again, here you have this diagram talking about the syntagmatic axis and the paradigmatic axis. No, these are the two axes of a language. Syntagmatic, horizontal. You join, no? You are grouping words together in a correct order. Notice, because you have to follow some structure, no? So you put first the article, then the noun, then the verb, and maybe an object. So one and one and one and one. But the paradigmatic is the possible options that you could replace, no? The child or the horse, no? The child walked, the horse ran, or the horse kicked, no? The child ran, the child kicked, no? So you can replace, no? You have nouns referring to something that we can move, actions, no? And the other, you have verbs related to actions too, walked, ran, kicked. So they belong to the same category, all right? They belong to the same category. So notice here, these two aspects or these two axes of a language, no? Syntagmatic and paradigmatic. Syntagmatic, association. Remember this word, syntagmatic association. Paradigmatic, substitution. Don't forget about these two words. Syntagmatic is related to the association of words. Paradigmatic is substitution. You are going to replace, remember, you are going to replace words in order to create more and more and more and more sentences. All right, the purpose is this, to create more and more and more utterances. You could use the syntagmatic relationship or the paradigmatic relationship. Yes, yes, tell me, all is clear? Yes, no questions? Okay, that's it. That's good. Lucy, Christian, all right? If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Remember, don't worry, don't be nervous, don't be afraid. Tell me your questions. This is very important. This is another aspect of participation to us. If you have some doubts, ask me, all right? Okay, let's continue. Now, let's talk about the principal element of analysis and study of syntax, the sentence. What is a sentence for you? Tell me, please, or maybe you can write it in the chat. Tell me your own definition. Don't look up information in the internet, a dictionary. No, what you know, what you can remember, what you have in your mind, what you have an idea of a sentence. What is a sentence for you?
For me, it's a composition of words.
All right. Yes, it's a composition of words. All right. Anybody else?
One idea, one information.
One idea, one information. Yeah, all right, all right. Cindy wrote in the chat. Cindy says a structure of words. All right. Christian.
A group of words.
Lucy says a group of words. All right.
With meaning.
With meaning. Oh, okay.
Meaning, yeah.
Okay, all right. Christian says, all right, so here in the chat, for it to be considered a sentence should have a subject and a verb. That's it. Very good. No more. We have here, let me see how many we are. Oh, yes, give me a second. 13, yes, tell me, or write it in the chat, please. Just 3, 4 of you. What about the others? Okay, Diana says the sentence has subject, verb, and predicate. Yeah, okay. Subject, verb, predicate. Yeah, Diana, be careful with the term predicate. Yeah, okay. All right. Anybody else? No more. What about Fiorella, Isabel, Mary, Marina, Ruth, Mary? Tell me, please. Or you can write it in the chat. So your partner says, Diana says, sentence have subject, verb, and predicate. According to Christian, a sentence should have a subject and a verb. Cindy says a structure of words. Lucy says a group or combination of words with meaning. All right. So here you have this definition of a sentence. Let's see. Here I have one more message. Fiorella, is a structure of words. All the components have a function for give a meaning. All right. Oh, don't worry, Diane. Don't worry. The most important is that you're participating. All right. That's it. Okay. So most of you talk about combination of words, a structure of words, with some elements, that we have in a sentence, some principal elements, such as subject, verb, or complement, or object. Others talk about the predicate. So let's see what the sentence is. The sentence, remember, we're talking about linguistics. The sentence is a linguistic unit that has meaning, and it doesn't belong to another higher linguistic unit. So this is the highest unit, linguistic unit in a language. We call a linguistic unit a piece of discourse which has meaning. Remember, Linguistic unit is a piece of discourse which has meaning, by which the sentence is a whole, a unit that has meaning. We have some elements or components, but as hello, hello, hello. I'm coming back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
No.
Or
I can hear you, but the
I don't
screams
see
Yeah,
anything.
yes,
doesn't
yes, I know.
appear.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I'm going to share it again. As I told you
Yes.
before, my connection today is awful, awful. I don't know what happened with Movistar. My school students told me a joke when I had these kind of problems because I am a teacher at school. So they told me, teacher, this is not Movistar, this is Choriestar. They told me that, and it makes me remember that.
They are so
All right.
funny, teacher.
Yes. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to share it again. Just give me a second. Yeah. Can you watch it?
No, yeah, that's why.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
can see.
Yeah, teacher. Yes,
Okay.
teacher.
All right. Okay. That's it. Let's continue. Let's go on. Yeah. So remember, we were talking about that a sentence is a linguistic unit that has meaning. What is a linguistic unit? A piece of discourse which has meaning. That's a whole, a unit that has meaning, a piece of discourse. So remember, discourse is when you combine these sentences and you create your speech, could be oral or written. No, this is a discourse. So it's a piece of discourse which has meaning. From phonemes, which are minimal units, to higher units such as morphemes, lexemes, and words, the sentence is the higher unit of linguistic. So we start with a low level. Now remember the double articulation. Low level sounds, phonemes. We join phonemes, we create words. We create higher units such as morphemes, lexemes, and words. What is the difference between these three terms? Morphemes, lexemes, and words. What is the difference? Can you remember?
The morpheme is a part of the word. The lexeme is like a root of the word, and the word is the group of morpheme with meaning.
Exactly. That's good, Lucy. Excellent. So a morpheme, remember, a morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit of the language. This is a morpheme. A lexeme is the base words, the root, no? Something that you can find in a dictionary. For example, dictionaries work with lexemes. They don't work with morphemes. And words, as your partner said, so words could be composed by one morpheme, two morphemes, or three morphemes, as you want. Let's see some example. I'm going to write here just a simple word. Teach. Teach is a word. It's a morpheme and it's a lexeme. Notice this is special because this entity, this linguistic unit, because this is a linguistic unit, all right, is a morpheme, is a meaningful unit, all right? It cannot be divided. Notice you cannot divide this unit, all right? A morpheme. It cannot be divided. It cannot be split up, all right? It has a meaning, all right? It has a meaning. Now, a lexeme. Why do we call this a lexeme? Because it's the base, the root. With this root, you can create more words. For example, you could add, now I'm going to add, notice, I'm going to add the ending ER. Teacher. Teacher is a word, but it's not a lexeme. Notice, teacher is a word, but it's not a lexeme. And it's not a morpheme because here teacher has two morphemes. Teach, Oh, it has a meaning? It's a morpheme? Yes. What kind of morpheme is this? It's a derivational morpheme. Teacher. ER has a meaning? Yes. The person who does something. This is the meaning of ER. Or you could use it with adjectives too, no? To make comparisons. More than. More. ER means more. Tall, taller. Notice it has a meaning. So notice teach. I'm going to say it again in order to differentiate these terms. Teach. Teach is a morpheme. It's a lexeme. And it's a word. But if you write teacher, I'm going to write again here, you have a word, right? You don't have two words. Okay? You don't have two words. You have just one word. But this word is not a lexeme. Because the lexeme is teach, the base, the root. Teach is the lexeme, what you can find in the dictionary. No, mostly dictionaries work with the lexemes, all right? Another example, I'm going to change the ER, all right? I'm going to change the ER and I'm going to replace it with the ES. Teaches, present simple, right? A grammatical morpheme, inflectional morpheme, grammatical inflectional morpheme. Teaches is a word. Yes? It's just one word. It's not two words. It's one word. But this word has two morphemes. The free morpheme, that is teach, and the bound morpheme, that is s. Two morphemes, one word, is not a lexeme. Notice the difference between these three terms: morphemes, lexemes, and words. All right? Is it clear? Yes?
Yes, teacher, it's clear.
All right, all right. Okay, okay. I can hear you so well. I think maybe it's my connection. All right, so notice here the difference. So here says, we are going to create sentences using first the first articulation, the low articulation that we join sounds, phonemes, minimal units with no meaning. Remember, phonemes are minimal units, the smallest unit in a language, but without meaning. And the smallest unit in a language, linguistic unit in a language, is the phoneme. But it doesn't have meaning. It gives meaning. No? Phonemes gives meaning. They give meaning. They differentiate meanings. You change one phoneme, you change the meaning of a word. All right? You use the paradigmatic relationship, no? Then with these phonemes, we create morphemes, lexemes, words. And with these morphemes, lexemes, and words, we create a sentence. That is the highest unit of linguistics. Every sentence, and this is part of some of you wrote in the chat, every sentence must meet all of the following criteria. The first, it must take a sense. It must start with capital letter. It must end with a full stop, question mark, or more rarely, an exclamation mark. It must have a subject and a verb. This means that every sentence should have something or someone doing something. All right? A person or something that does something. Subject and verb. Notice here these criteria. First, a sense, a complete sense. Then, punctuation, capital letter, full stop, question mark, or an exclamation mark. And then the composition of the sentence. It must have a subject and a verb. Notice here, a subject and a verb. A complete sentence must possess both a subject and a predicate, something that Diane, if I can remember so well, Diane says, no, a predicate, a subject and a predicate. Here doesn't say the verb, here says a predicate, because a predicate joins the verb and the object. No, this is the predicate, the verb and the object or complement. So this is called the predicate. So notice here some characteristics or some criteria in order to recognize or say that this unit is a sentence. Let's start talking about the subject. The subject, it's the naming part of the sentence. It represents people, things, and places that perform the action of the verb or express the condition or state of the verb. So notice this is the function of the subject. It represents people, things, places that perform or do an action. That is the verb or a condition or a state of the verb. So remember that we have two kinds of verbs, no? Action and state verbs. This is also the head of the subject. The head of the subject is the noun. Notice we're analyzing the composition of the subject. How can we create a subject? Not just the noun, but the principal part of a noun, of the subject, sorry, is the noun. This is the principal part of a subject, the noun. Example. Mario speaks English. Mario performs the action of speak. Is the person who performs this action, speak. Juan is tall. Juan expresses the condition of is. Notice here you don't have an action, all right? You don't have an action. You have a state. Juan is tall. Here the verb be is just as a connector, all right? It's just the function of the verb be here is as a connector, is connecting the noun with some characteristics of the noun, no? Because the adjective is when you give some characteristics of qualifying the noun. So the verb be is just a connector. Juan is tall, so you're giving a characteristic of Juan. This is a state. Notice Juan expresses the condition of is. Let's see some types of nouns. For example, Mario speaks English. Mario is a simple noun. All right, this is called a simple noun. Mario speaks English. The first two girls are sisters. So notice this noun is bigger. We have more words referring to the noun. All right, here you have, this is a complete noun. The first two girls are sisters. So we have more information about the noun. It's not just a simple one, no? It's in the first sentence, Mario, just Mario. So just state a name, no, of the subject. In this case, the noun. Incomplete, we have more information. The first two girls are sisters. Juan and Peter went to school. Here you have another type of noun. That is called compound. You have a conjunction here, no? The conjunction and. All right? So you use the conjunction and. That's why we call compound. Juan and Peter went to school. So we have these three types of nouns: simple, complete, and compound. All right? Simple noun, just a noun. Complete, you have extra information about the noun. And compound, you have two people, two places, two things, and they are joined by the conjunction and. Juan and Peter, Maria and Jose, the tall boy and the tall girl. Notice here you have a compound noun. All right, so we have these three different types of nouns. Oh, sorry, my drawing. Yeah. Predicate. Let's pass to the other part of a sentence. That is the predicate. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Predicate, it is the doing or being part of the sentence. It represents the action or a state. Notice, action or a state taken by the subject. The head of the principal part of the predicate is the verb or verb phrase. Notice here, verb or verb phrase, and it's called the head of the predicate. For example, here you have Carlos has lived in Lima for 3 years. Notice the red part is the predicate. Has lived in Lima for 3 years is the predicate. Carlos is the subject. Let's see. Here, types of predicate. So we have simple, complete, and compound. Similar to the nouns, not similar to the subjects. Carlos runs. Simple. Maria speaks slowly. Complete. You're giving more information. Notice, you're giving more information about the action. And what do you use to give more information? Adverbs. You're using adverbs. On the other side, on the noun, you use adjectives. The first girl, the tall woman, or the tall boy, you're using adjectives and you make a complete. This is complete. When you give more information about the subject or the noun or the verb in this case, no? Maria speaks, but how? Slowly or quickly. So you're giving more information about the action. Maria speaks slowly. It's a complete predicate. And the compound, Sarah was singing quietly and smiling to herself. So here we have two actions, two verbs. And again, they are joined using the conjunction and. Sarah was singing quietly and smiling to herself. So this is called the compound predicate. So here you have these three types. Remember, similar to the nouns or subjects, no? Simple, complete, and compound. You have a table here summarizing what we have seen before. No? The subject and the predicate. Subject, simple, James. Simple predicate, jumped. Complete subject, my friend James. Complete predicate, jumped on the bed. Notice that we are increasing, no? We are giving more details, more information about the subject and about the predicate. And compound, James and I. Compound predicate, jumped on the bed and fell on the floor. So here you are, from a basic to a more complex sentence. No? Basic, we use both subject and predicate. James jumped. Complete, my friend James jumped on the bed. Compound, James and I jumped on the bed and fell on the floor. So notice the different combination that we could use with the subject and the predicate. No? We have three: simple, complete, compound. No? We have these three categories if you want to say that. Let's pass now to the kinds of sentences. What kind of sentences do we have? There are four main types of sentences. Declarative, used to convey information or make statements. Notice here the function of declarative sentences. They are used to convey information or make statements. Interrogative, used to ask questions. Imperative, used to issue orders or directives. And exclamatory, used to make exclamations. So we are grouping, notice, we are categorizing these sentences according to their function, all right? According to function. What is the function of each sentence? Declarative, to give information. No, convey is similar to say give, no? To give information or make statements. Interrogative, what is the function of an interrogative sentence? To ask questions, to ask for information, to ask for something, right? What is the function of imperative sentences? To give orders, commands, or requests. And exclamatory sentences, to make exclamations, not to express feelings, no? Strong feelings or emotions. You use the exclamations. Notice here the examples on the other side. Declarative, so you say, I can play the violin. So you are giving information, no? Or making a statement. We hope to see you tomorrow. She is studying English. So these are the declarative sentences. Interrogative. Would you like my house? Shall I call her or send an email? What happened? Gina plays the piano, doesn't she? Notice this is a special question, no? How do we call the last question?
Last question.
Excellent. No, the famous tag question and embedded questions. No, we have these two names, no? Tag questions or embedded questions. Gina plays the piano, doesn't she? So we usually use this kind of sentences when we are not sure about some information and we want to confirm some information. No? That's why we use this kind of questions or sentences, interrogative sentences. Then we have the imperative. Imperative sentences we have, remember, this is just the case that we are not going to use a pronoun, right? We're going to omit the pronoun when we make imperative sentences. Look at the examples. Do your homework. You don't say you do your homework. No pronoun, no subject. Just a verb. Do your homework. Close the door. Do your homework, will you? Notice that we use also this kind of a structure, tag question to make imperatives, like an imperative structure. Do your homework, will you? Send me an email soon, won't you? Notice this is an imperative, like a tag question. Notice this is a complex structure. And finally, we have the exclamatory. You look so beautiful. What a silly man. Run. He's coming here. Notice you are expressing your emotions, your feelings about something in a strong way, no? We mostly use this to express our feelings or emotions in a strong way, suddenly, no? Sometimes we use also some interjections too, no? Okay, so notice here we have these 4 types of sentences, but remember, according to their function, all right? We have 4: declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory. Let's continue. Just give me a second. Oh. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, declarative sentence makes a statement or a fact or possibility. They have a subject, which comes before the verb, and have the usual word order or canonical order. They always end with periods. This passage illustrates his sense of humor. This is a declarative sentence. I may go to the park this week. Another declarative sentence. Sometimes the subject is not the first element in the sentence because some elements of the predicate is placed or fronted before the subject in order to give emphasis. In the morning, I always run around my house. Notice that we could use this just to give emphasis. A declarative sentence may also contain a subject-verb inversion, in which we place the subject after the verb. Under the table ran the cat. Oh, teacher, what is that? Notice this is a special structure that we usually use just in a rhetorical way or in a poetical writing. Now we use this just in these 2 cases, no? When we talk about we write in a rhetoric way or as a poetic device, no? This is very common in poems, in poetry, all right? That you use this inversion. Under the table ran the cat. The normal sentence is the cat ran under the table, all right? But in some situations, we can make the inversion and we use here part of the predicate before the noun, before the subject. Notice, under the table ran the cat. Yeah? So we call this inversion. Remember, inversion. We usually use with some prepositional phrases or adverbial expressions or phrases. For example, here we started with a prepositional phrase, under, no? Under the table. Or you could use also adverbial phrases. So we call this inversion. Notice, but this is a declarative sentence. It's not a question. It's not a question. It's a declarative sentence, but in a more complex structure. Interrogative sentences. They always ask questions. They may ask for information, confirmation, or denial of a statement. Most of them contain subject-verb inversion. Notice, similar to the previous one, but this is the common structure in questions. Subject-verb inversion. They may start with auxiliaries, interrogative adverbs, pronouns. Do you speak English? Notice that this is a common rule in the English language, no? In order to make questions, we commonly use auxiliaries. Auxiliary verb. Do is the auxiliary verb of the present simple, right? Do you speak English? Where do you live? You're using an adverb. Imperative sentences. Usually open with verbs because they often contain subjects. If a subject is present, it is usually you, but as a rule, the subject is lacking, is omitted. A noun or pronoun can function as a subject. They may request or give a command. Sue, come here. Notice that the subject, if you place a subject in this kind of sentence, you need to write a comma. Notice a comma. Sue, come here, or just come here, right? But do you want to be more specific? Who do you want to come? So you can write a subject. But notice that you write it with a comma. Sue, come here. The rest of you stay where you are. Help me lift this box. We mostly use the verb, no, as a starting point in these sentences. But sometimes we could use a subject or noun, or a phrase could start this kind of sentence. Exclamating sentences. Subjects precedes the verb. They are introduced by phrases opening with the words how or what. They express a thought with a strong emotion. Their structural forms can be formalized as how plus adjective. Notice here, how lovely. This is an exclamating sentence. How plus adjective, how lovely. How plus adjective plus a clause. How cold it is. And notice you're giving you're expressing your feeling about the weather, no? Your emotion about the weather. How cold it is. Instead of saying, oh, it's very cold, it's so cold. So you could use an exclamating one because it gives you more emphasis, no? How cold it is. How plus adverb plus a clause. How beautiful you sing. How beautifully you sing. How plus clause. How you have grown. How you have grown. So notice here the different structures that we could use in order to make exclamating sentences. Using how or using what, no? We also use what, no? What a shame. For example, this is a very common expression, no? What a shame. What a pity, no? What a pity. When you feel sorry about something, no? Oh, what a pity. Or what a shame. Notice that you're using this structure, no? How or what plus an adjective, or plus an adjective plus a clause, or an adverb plus a clause, or just a clause. All right, so here you have the different structures to make, no? What plus an article or a noun, what an idiot. Or what plus an adjective plus a noun, what lovely flowers. Be careful here in the last part, because we sometimes make this mistake, because we also generalize this expression, what a, no? Oh, what a beautiful house. What a beautiful weather. Or what a nice weather. And we generalize this use of a. But remember, if you talked about plural, you don't use a. What lovely flowers. Don't say, what a lovely flowers. No, what lovely flowers. Because you're talking about in plural. So you don't use a. No, I told you because sometimes we confuse with this, no? Because we generalize, no? This structure and we can make some mistakes, no? Remember, this is just with singular nouns. Okay, to finish with the class, with the session of today, now we are going to analyze the sentences. Remember, the first categorization was related to their function. Now we are going to categorize them according to their structure, the composition of the sentence. And we have 4 again: simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, and compound complex sentence. Let's see what they are. Simple sentence. Sentences of this type contain one independent clause, a unit of writing that can stand alone. Remember, a unit of writing that can stand alone. So it can appear just by their own. It doesn't need any other element or clause. A simple sentence can have 47 phrases, but only one independent clause. So it means that we can have a lot of phrases, all right? A lot of phrases. However, the clause may be comprised of a compound element, such as a compound object or compound predicate. Do not separate the elements with commas. Although you may place a comma, but it will be for reasons other than being required by sentence type. For example, he studies English. It has only one subject. Jill has purchased the paper materials for the assignment, but has not purchased the CD she needs. Notice, this is a simple sentence. Don't get confused, because sometimes when they say simple sentence, yeah, this sentence must be short, small, no? We could think like this, but not. Notice here, the second sentence is a long sentence, but it has just simple because it has just one subject and it could have a compound predicate. Jill has purchased the paper materials for the assignment, but has not purchased the CD she needs. So the two actions, notice, the two actions are referring to the same subject. You are not changing the subject, all right? The subject is doing or not doing one or two activities together, all right? So we consider this a simple sentence. So I repeat, as I told you, don't get confused with a simple sentence. Yeah, just a basic structure, no? No. It could have a lot of phrases. Notice 47 phrases. Compound sentences. What is a compound sentence? Sentences of this type contain two independent clauses. The two independent clauses can be separated from each other in 3 different ways. Use of a comma and a conjunction, and, but, nor, yet, etc. Use a transitional expression, longer linking words such as consequently, moreover, hence, therefore. And the last one, the omission of the conjunction, which requires replacement with semicolon. So notice, here we are going to have two independent clauses. Remember, two independent clauses. And we are going to combine this, or we can separate this using a comma or a conjunction, using a transitional expression, or omitting the conjunction and using the semicolon. Notice here, I love conjunctive adverbs, comma, but my students love each other. So we have two independent clauses, and we are using a comma plus a conjunction, okay? Comma and but. So we have this structure. Notice this is a structure, comma and a conjunction. Two independent clauses. John is not able to help me. I plan to ask Susan for help. Notice, what are we using here? We're using a semicolon. No conjunction, a semicolon. Two independent clauses. The conjunction is missing. Semicolon is needed rather than a comma to separate the two independent clauses. Remember, when we have two independent clauses, it's advisable to separate it with a semicolon, not a comma. All right? With a semicolon, not a comma. When we have two independent clauses, and obviously it's a compound sentence. I can name several conjunctive adverbs, comma, consequently, comma, my friends are impressed. So here you're using an adverbial, no? This is an adverbial phrase or adverb, no? In this case, it's just an adverb, no? Consequently. But notice here, it is separated with commas. Conjunctive adverbs, comma, consequently, comma, my friends are impressed. So notice how can we make compound sentences using a comma plus a conjunction, using a semicolon, or using adverbial expressions. This is the way how we are going to make compound sentences. Two independent clauses. Remember, two independent clauses. All right? Here we are, some connecting words with necessary punctuation. So we have and, so, yet, either, or, not only, but also, but, or, neither, nor, moreover. So here you have more expressions using these punctuations, no? Furthermore, for instance, nevertheless. So we have more and more expressions and also the necessary punctuation. All right? The complex sentence, we have one independent clause and a dependent part. So the independent clauses can stand alone, but dependent parts cannot stand alone. They are depending on the independent clause to provide complete meaning. Notice, in the compound, we have two independent clauses. They could have their own meaning, but here in the complex, we have one dependent, one independent. So we cannot just write one of these because we don't have a complete meaning, a complete sense. Three types of dependent parts are found in complex sentences, and their location and type affect how they are punctuated. If the dependent clause part is located at the beginning of the sentence, it is set up from the independent part with a comma. If the independent part is located with the independent part and it's not essential to complete the meaning of the sentence, the dependent part is surrounded by commas. And finally, if the dependent part is located within the independent clause, but it's essential to complete the meaning of the sentence, the dependent part is not surrounded by commas. Notice the examples. here, because life is complex, comma, we need complex sentences. It has a dependent clause with independent clause. The dependent clause, notice that you have here, all right? You have here, oh, sorry, yeah. Because, this is the dependent. Because life is complex, we need complex sentences. Number 2, my father, comma, who just celebrated his 50th birthday, comma, plans to retire when he's 60. So, it has one independent clause and no essential dependent clause part. Who just celebrated his 50th birthday is not required for meaning completion. Therefore, is surrounded by commas. Notice here the composition. All right? You have this. It is not essential. You're just adding information. All right? You're just adding extra information, but it's not essential to the meaning, the complete meaning of the sentence. It is dependent because alone, if you write alone, who just celebrated his 50th birthday, it doesn't have complete meaning or sense. So it's dependent. But this dependent clause is not essential. So that's why you write two commas. My father, comma, and 50th birthday, comma. So you use this to give extra information. Notice you're giving extra information. And finally, to finish with the class, I know that you're tired. Maybe you want to sleep or eat something. So we're going to finish with this. 3, the car that is parked on the street needs to be moved. Notice here that we have an independent clause and its essential part. That is parked on that street required to complete the meaning of the sentence. Therefore, is not surrounded by commas. The car needs to be moved. This is the independent. And inside this, you have a dependent. And this dependent clause is essential to have a complete meaning. So you don't use commas. No commas surrounded. All right? Okay, so we are going to stop here. Don't worry about this topic. Next session, we're going to reinforce about these type of sentences according to their structure. Yeah, so don't be worried. Oh, teacher is so fast, I couldn't understand. Yeah, so we're going to reinforce this last topic in order to get it clear. All right? Okay?
Okay, teacher.
All right, so well, that's all for today. As I told you before at the beginning of the session, it is a pleasure to be with you again here to continue talking about these aspects of linguistics and also different aspects. After linguistics, for example, this is the last part of linguistics. After this, we're going to start talking about how to teach different skills, how to teach listening, reading, writing, speaking, vocabulary, grammar, and we're going to finish with the use of the ICTs, no? In Spanish, the famous TICs. So this is the end of the program. So after this module, we are going to start talking about how to teach different skills, no? When we finish this module, no? So next class, we have to continue with this module. Remember, we have 4 classes per each module. And then we have this teaching skills, all right? Well, that's all for today. See you next week. Take care a lot. Bye-bye.